All right, I'm gonna say it. Sometimes the most expensive roll forming machine is not always right for you. So, how do you know which machine is right for your business? Today, I'm at new Tech Machinery in Denver, Colorado. I've got Tom Laird here. Thanks for being here, Tom.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So we're gonna talk today about how to know which new tech roof panel machine is right for your business, to help your business thrive. So, typically our audience is contractors, regional manufacturers, and they're often comparing new tech machines like the SSQ3, the SSH, and the SSR. But at the end of the day, it's really not about our machines, it's about their business and their business goals. So instead of starting with machine features and talking through those first, what we're gonna do is talk about what questions you should ask yourself about your business, and then we will apply the right machine specs to match those business goals.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's get started. So first question, if I'm a business owner and I'm looking at a portable roll forming machine, first question I'm gonna wanna ask about my business is, do I do primarily residential, light commercial, or commercial work? Tom, why is that important for me to ask myself that?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons that's one of the most important questions you can ask. First off, it's not only where your business is today, where do you see your business going? If you're focused on residential roofing, chances are you're not going to need some of the features that an SSQ3 or an SSQ2 machine might offer you. Being able to do commercial profiles might not be an option for you. If you only see yourself doing residential work, then I can steer you towards an SSH or possibly even an SSR, depending on the volume of metal roofing that you're seeing yourself doing now and that you're projecting your company to do in the future.
Yeah, I like how you talk about, where's my business going to be in 5 years? Because really, no matter which machine you choose at whatever price point, it's a capital expenditure.
Absolutely.
That you're going to be paying for and using for years to come. So you have to think about that, the future of your business.
Absolutely, and not just what you have going today. Because a lot of the clients that I'll speak to will tell me that they've got a big metal roofing job that they see the advantage of having a machine, and I'll say, well, that's great for this one project.
Yep.
Typically, a machine's not going to pay for itself in one project. I mean, unless you're doing a super large commercial job, which I've had a few of over the years.
Sure.
But for the most part, it's going to be a sustained savings over time that's going to make that machine pay for itself or benefit you in the long run, where the machine becomes a very solid investment for you. If you're buying it for just one job, it's more important to look at the big picture and where your company is going to go and how much metal roofing work you see yourself not only having today, but in the future.
Absolutely. So let's think about from a manufacturing and fabrication standpoint, one thing that I should ask about my business is, am I going to be installing the panels I'm making, or am I going to be selling the panels to other contractors? Why is that important to ask myself when comparing machines?
Well, I think the biggest point of when you're comparing machines and looking at the chop and drop aspect versus doing your own work, if you're focused more on supplying panels to others, chances are you're going to want to have a more versatile machine. You're going to have a machine that's going to be able to perform more different capabilities and more different panel profiles than the smaller machines that are just focused on residential type stuff. If you're doing chop and drop, there's a good chance you're going to have people that are asking you about commercial projects, and you're going to want a machine that can meet those needs.
And not to mention, when you are becoming a manufacturer, you have to think about operational efficiency. So if you get a machine that is maybe slower than other machines, whether that be from like actual panel speed or it's a manual shear, that operational efficiency is going to eat into your profit.
Absolutely. And not only that, the ease of use of the machine, the programmability. When you look at our smaller machines, the entry-level SSR machine, as you just mentioned, it has a manual shear. It has a optional digital length controller that's more limited in the scope of what its capabilities are than when you get into the SSH or our flagship machine, the SSQ3, which has the availability of a unique controller that allows you to program everything into the machine and let the machine run it for you automatically.
Another question I should ask myself is profiles. What profiles are my market asking me for? What's popular in my region? Why would I have to know which profiles I'm looking for in a machine?
Well, the main crux of that is knowing what's going to be popular in your area so that when you start out with that new machine, you have panel profiles that are going to be in demand and that are going to keep your business operational. If you buy something based on your own personal preference versus what the market demand is, you might be sitting on a machine that's sitting idle a lot instead of being able to put it to good use.
Yeah, so you want a machine that matches the capabilities of what your market demands.
Correct.
Yeah.
And typically most of our clients will start with between 1 and 3 panel profiles because they'll have a pretty good idea of what's going to be popular in their specific area. And if you focus on our SSQ3 machine, the beauty of that is that machine's the most versatile machine of its type, and it can do 16 different panel profiles. So you always have the ability to grow with the machine. You might take a job that you don't have that panel profile today, but you have the ability to add it to your existing machine.
Absolutely. And if we're thinking about seam heights, the SSQ3 can make seam heights up to 2.5 inches, correct?
Yeah. 2.5 inch trapezoid, a 2 inch mechanical seam, a 2 inch snap seam, 1 3/4 inch snap block. Those are all very popular commercial panel profiles. If you go with one of the smaller machines, you're not going to have the capabilities of being able to run those in the future.
Sure, max of 1.5 inch seam height, correct?
Correct.
Awesome. Another question that I should ask myself as a business owner is, do I want a machine that's capable of running electric or gas? How is it actually going to be powered? Why is that important?
Well, it's definitely going to be important from the standpoint of where you see the machine being used. If it's going to be used inside your factory, chances are you're going to want an electric motor for it. If the machine's going to be used out in the field, chances are you're going to want a gas engine. That way you're not having to haul a separate generator with you to power that equipment. Because the panel machines that we have that run off 220 volt electric power, the generator requirement's going to be such that typically you're going to have your generator on your own trailer or in the back of a truck that's going to be able to power that machine. Whereas if you get the gas engine, it's a self-contained unit, self-powered. You're not having to worry about finding the right plug at the job site and making sure that you have everything ready to run an electric machine.
So between the 3 machines, which can you have a gas option for?
Well, our entry-level SSR machine is a strictly 110 volt electric machine. Our SSH and the SSQ3 are modular power. So when you buy one of those machines, you're going to get your choice of gas or electric power with the base price, but you can always purchase the second power pack separately and within 10 minutes or less switch out that machine from gas to electric power so that maybe in the winter months you're running that machine in your shop and you're going to want to use it with electric power, but as soon as that weather warms up and you're taking it out in the field to either install your own roofing projects or to provide chop and drop services to other contractors, you have the gas engine you can put on it and take it right easily to a job site.
Makes sense. Another question that I should ask myself is how important is speed? And that's actually panel forming speed. Why is that a question I should ask myself? And then how does that materialize with the machines that NewTek offers?
On the SSQ3 machine, it's our fastest machine. It can run up to 75 feet per minute with a gas engine or a 220 volt 3-phase electric motor. It'll be slightly slower if you go with the single phase 220 volt motor. But again, it's going to depend on your crew size, how many employees are at the job site to turn those panels from off the machine onto a roof or off the machine onto the ground if you're doing the chop and drop.
Yeah, and probably like length of panels. If you're doing small awnings and that's all you do, maybe you don't need a lot of speed in your machine.
Absolutely, that's correct. And with the SSH machine, our mid-level machine, it can run up to 60 feet a minute. And then the entry-level SSR machine, about 30 to 35 feet a minute.
Got it, okay. Another question is, do I need hydraulics or computer automation? Why would I ask myself that question and what does that get me as far as a machine goes?
Well, I'll start with the hydraulics portion of it. Having hydraulics in the machine is going to make it faster and it's going to automate the panel cutting operation, the shearing of the panel. It's funny, over the years I have sold many an SSR entry-level machine to customers who a year or two later tell me, why didn't you convince me to buy the bigger machine with hydraulics? And I said, well, your budget dictated that the smaller machine was going to work for your needs at that point. And they're like, well, I'm tired of pulling the shear handle down. And if you're running a major chop and drop operation or you're doing metal roofing as a main crux of your business, chances are you're going to want a hydraulic drive, you're going to want a hydraulic shear to allow that machine to automatically cut the panels for you when they run to the proper length.
Yep. And from a computer automation standpoint, what's important for me to think about there?
Well, On the smallest machine, the SSR, it's a digital length controller that you can program up to 50 different lengths, but it's only going to run one length at a time. And each time it runs to that specific length, you're going to pull your shear handle down and then hit the start button again to run that same length, unless you go to the computer controller itself and switch those lengths. When you get into the SSH or the SSQ3 machine, with the controllers that come with those machines, they are batch and length controllers. And they'll allow you to put in quantities. So I'm gonna need 30 pieces at 22 foot, 3 1/8 inch each. And that machine's gonna run exactly to those lengths and cut each panel for you. And as long as there's somebody to remove that panel, the machine's gonna continue to run. If a panel runs out of the machine and idles, and there's nobody there to take that panel off after it's cut, the machine recognizes that and it idles itself.
Okay.
And it won't run the next panel until you remove the one that's there. That's due to the proximity sensor that we put on the shear end of our SSH and SSQ3 machines. When you get into the controller on the SSQ3, not only does it do batch and length control, it's a safety system, it's a coil tracking system, it's a troubleshooting system. So the controller is just almost an integral part of the machine.
Yeah, so it really comes down to how you see yourself operating on a daily basis. What are you willing to give and take as far as that goes?
Yeah, how much automation do you want with the machine? How much more effective are your employees going to be if they're just having to stand there and take panels out and put them on the floor, or put them on the roof?
Yep. Okay. Another question I should ask myself, hey, am I always going to be running the same types of panel profiles, the same standing seam profiles, or am I going to want to differentiate my product mix into maybe siding or a Soffit style panel? Why would I consider that?
Well, again, that gives you another avenue for your business to grow. And it's funny that when you talk to customers, they'll be stuck on the standing seam portion of it. And I'll mention a flush wall soffit underdecking panel or a board and batten vertical siding panel profile. Those types of profiles are only available in the biggest machine, the SSQ3, but that gives you another impetus and another reason to look at a machine that might be a little bit more than you're willing to bite off. It's the initial point of entry of looking into a machine, but when you look at the scope of what it's capable of doing and where you see your business going, it might be the best option for you.
Sure, yeah, because you have to think about it as well. Am I going to buy a machine today that I'm going to have to resell and upgrade later?
Right, which is certainly a viable option for some customers. And again, my selling approach with clients is to get them what they need today, but make sure that it's going to grow with them as their business grows. I don't want to oversell you. If, again, commercial work is not part of your main crux of your business, you probably won't need an SSQ3 machine. But maybe you want to do siding in the future. Maybe you want to be able to offer underdecking panels to a client when you're out there doing their standing seam metal roof and they have this beautiful redwood deck on the back of their house and they don't have any underdecking to seal off the floor of that redwood deck. There's another business opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. So I think one of the most important questions that we haven't covered yet is how much are you looking to spend and willing to spend on your machine? Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. The range of prices on our machines are going to start from the mid $40,000 range for an SSR machine, the Multi-Pro Junior, up to well over $100,000 for an SSQ machine, depending on the configuration and if you're looking to do notching and angle cutting and other features, which could drive the price of a standing seam machine up to over $200,000. It's just going to depend on what your budget's going to be and where you see your business going.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance, right?
Absolutely.
Between what you can afford, what you're willing to pay, your cash flow financing situation, where you want to take your business. So there's a lot to think about. And that's why it's so important to ask these questions so that you're prepared to make the best decision for your business.
Absolutely. And the bottom line is make a plan. Have a plan for what you see yourself doing, not just for today. When I talk to customers, I want to know what drove them to call us in the first place and where their business is today and where they see their business going. Because all of those questions, once they're answered, will help steer you towards the right machine and help really answer the question if you really need to purchase a machine or if maybe your best bet is to continue to purchase panels from a factory supplier or from another chop and drop organization.
Absolutely. So let's compare the SSR, the SSH, and the SSQ3. Starting with the SSR, what does a typical customer look like who buys that machine?
The typical SSR customer is going to be someone that might have limitations in the technology that they can use. We have lots of Amish clients that love SSR machines because there's no hydraulics, there's no touchscreen computer controllers. They're very simple, basic machines, similar to a seamless gutter machine, if you've ever used a seamless gutter machine. The same concept, it's just it's making a standing seam metal roofing panel. I usually will ask customers, if you're doing maybe one metal roof a month or 6 a year or something, an SSR is probably going to be a great entry point for you. And guess what? In a year or two, maybe metal roofing becomes a bigger part of business, and then you can morph into an SSH or potentially an SSQ3. But it's a great starting point, and we have a lot of clients out there that have multiple SSR machines, because it's an easy to use machine. There's not a lot of technological advances in it, so it's easier to work on, easier to maintain, so.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense for the SSR. What about the SSH? What's the ideal customer look like that purchases an SSH?
Now, the SSH machine will run the same panel profiles that you can run in an SSR machine. It'll do them in a slightly wider variance of panel widths. In an SSR, you can go 10 inch to 16 inches wide, depending on the panel profile. In an SSH, you can go 12 inch to 20 inches wide, again, depending on the panel profile. The SSH machine's twice as fast. Full hydraulic, so hydraulic drive, hydraulic shear, and it's going to be for folks that are doing at least 10 to 20 metal roofs a year, and their focus is still residential, maybe light commercial. So the SSH is a great machine if you want to have the automation of the big machines, yet the ease of use and the residential capabilities of the smaller machines.
So then what about for the SSQ3? What does that typical customer look like?
Typical customer that is looking at an SSQ3 machine sees metal construction and metal roofing and metal siding as an integral part of their business. Many of our clients that are SSQ owners have multiple machines, and they send them out to different job sites and have a number of different panel profiles that they can produce with those machines. So again, it's folks that have cornered the metal roofing market, so to speak, and know that metal is going to be an integral part of their day-to-day business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Tom, I want to thank you very much. Obviously, from a Sheffield Metals and New Tech sister company perspective, you guys are a great partner for us, so I appreciate the info.
No, appreciate it anytime.
Yep.
I'd love to do it.
If you have any more questions, comment down below and visit SheffieldMetals.com, where you can build, configure, and finance your very own New Tech machine. Like Tom said, make sure to have a plan. We're here for you to answer any questions you have. Subscribe here to the Metal Roofing channel. As always, I'm Thad Barnett. We'll catch you next time.